In this video, we will demonstrate and discuss best practices for receiving and quality checking predatory insects and mites. Note that these methods are only meant to provide an approximation of package totals. It may not be as accurate as a quantitative assessment done by the supplier in a scientific laboratory. Bulk predatory mite biocontrol products for thrips and spider mite control are shipped in bags, tubes, or buckets in a carrier of peat, vermiculite, or bran. When you receive your shipment of predatory mites in a bulk carrier, roll the container over in your hands to mix the contents, or transfer the product to a larger container for easier mixing. Using a small scoop of known volume, such as a quarter teaspoon, which is 1.2 milliliters, immediately take a sample of the carrier media and arrange the sample in a line under a microscope. Using a small paintbrush, sift through the sample and count the total number of live adults and nymphs of predatory mites in the line. If you are checking a product that contains feeder mites, note the difference between feeder mites and predatory mites. Feeder mites are slow-moving, milky-colored mites with long hairs, while predatory mites are fast-moving and smooth. Be sure not to count food mites during your assessments. Take care to separate the pieces of carrier well using the paintbrush, as mites may hide between pieces. Repeat this step for at least 3 samples taken from random portions of the container, recording the counts on your record sheet. Calculate the average number of predatory mites you found per sample, and estimate the total quantity of predatory mites in the package. To determine this, divide the total volume of the package by the volume of the scoop. Then multiply this by the average number of predatory mites in the samples you counted. You can find a link to a PDF showing the calculations in the video description below. Predatory insect biocontrol products are used for a variety of pests and are shipped in an equally large variety of formats, including buckwheat hulls, paper strips, burlap, peat, and wood wool. When you receive your shipment of immature predatory insects, place a container in a fine mesh screen cage and open the top. Inside the cage, place a piece of cotton wool drenched with sugar water or a few drops of diluted honey as food for the emerged adults. Put the mesh cage in a shaded area in the greenhouse. Return to the cage daily to count the emerged adults in the cage as you aspirate them into a vial. Record these counts on your record sheet. Immediately release counted adults into the crop canopy near problem areas. When you receive your shipment of adult predatory insects, or a mix of adults and mobile immatures, place all material from the vial or bottle in a fine mesh screen cage. Inside the cage, count all the adults and immatures leaving the bottle as you aspirate them into a vial. Release counted insects into the greenhouse near problem areas and record the total on your record sheets. Alternatively, you can inspect the contents of the bottle near the problem area. Carefully remove a part of the carrier material from the container onto a white sheet of paper or tray. Count the number of moving insects you find in this sample and allow the adults to disperse into the greenhouse. Repeat the sampling until all of the carrier material is inspected, adding up all of the counts to determine the total number of adults in the container. Record this number on your record sheet. Note that Aureus and Atheta have mobile, wingless, immature stages. Include any of these quick-moving individuals you find in the carrier media into your counts. For larger package sizes, like Delosia coriaria, formerly called Atheta, only count a sample of the package. Transfer the product to a larger container for mixing. Mix the product and immediately take a 30 milliliter sample using a measuring spoon. Spread the sample on a white piece of paper or tray. Count the adults and mobile immatures while collecting them using an aspirator. Repeat this step at least 3 times. Calculate the average number of predators per sample and estimate the total quantity in the package. Determine the total volume of the product. This should be listed on the original container. Divide the total volume of the original package by the volume of your sample. Multiply this by the average number of predators in the samples and record this number on your record sheet. To check for predatory mites in your crop, tap the foliage and flowers over a white pan or notebook, as you would do if you were scouting for thrips. Look for fast-moving mites using a hand lens. Alternatively, you can use something as simple as your smartphone to check for mites. Run your phone along the foliage of the crop, and dislodged, light-colored mites will be visible running on the dark surface of the black screen. To check for signs of predatory insects in the crop, look for larvae, nymphs, or adults on plant foliage in problem areas. Plant taps are always a good way to check for active predators. Slow-moving Feltiella and Ophidiides larvae are found in spider mite and aphid hotspots respectively. When you can find all life stages of a predatory species in or near a problem area, that is a good sign that your biocontrol program is functioning well.